I'm Devin Faraci. This is Badass Digest. I'm at the Beverly Hilton with Andy Wachowski, Lana Wachowski, and Tom Tykwer, the directors of Cloud Atlas, which, for my money, and this is where the butt kissing part of the thing begins, is like
this is my favorite part.
This is the good part.
When do we get to the butt kissing? Hurry.
This is one of the most exciting and amazing movies of the year. I mean, this is like, the decade's really young, but like it feels like one of those ones we're going to be looking back at the end of the decade and going, wow, these guys really kicked some ass on this one.
That's it. The music from my dream.
There are whole movements I wrote imagining us meeting again and again in different lives, in different ages.
I can't explain it, but I knew when I opened that door,
A powerful deja vu ran through my bones.
Andy and Lana, you grew up writing and working together. There's, I'm assuming, almost like a twin talk thing that happens when you get creative. Tom, you're coming into this
knock,
sort
Bob,
of...
knock, knock.
It's like Beneath the Planet of the Apes. You just have that thing. But it's, Tom, you're coming into this. I mean, what is sort of that like to take the duo and make it a trio?
We met and had this kind of immediate bond, which had a lot to do with the fact that we felt like we share a very similar idea about aesthetics and cinema, and our desire to embrace cinema in its entirety, in all its facets, and that's why finding a book like Cloud Atlas was like an invitation for us.
yesterday, my life was headed in one direction. Today, it is headed in another.
But I mean, just how does that work on a real functional level, just in terms of taking this big book and breaking it down and writing it? How does that, how did the three of you work together to make that happen?
Well, I mean, philosophically and ideologically, we're simpatico. It's like, you know, people say, oh, you know, me and Lana, we have twin speak, but it's not really the case. It's, you know, we're not...
People who say that are really by the way.
No, I mean, it's that the director's monologue is now a dialogue and it's externalized. And we come towards filmmaking in a very loving way, that we embrace the idea that it's a social art form. And we went down to Costa Rica and started the experiment of could we write together, which we think is a far more intimate process than anything you do in the making a movie.
This is the Cloud Atlas sextet?
I doubt there's more than a handful of copies in all of North America.
But I know it. I know it.
In Mitchell's book, it's this nesting format where, you know, it's the first half of each story, and then it goes on, and then it comes back around and recursively goes back to the beginning. You don't do that. It's a constant back and forth, and it was exciting to sort of watch how it transitioned back and forth. It would transition based on movement. It would transition based on thematics. It would transition based on emotion.
You knew that reading the book that there were lots of things that related to a larger concept. And when you put the book down, you don't think that you read 6 short stories. You think, you feel, you begin to experience a single novel. It works on your brain in a way that suggests that it's not 6 disparate pieces, but even the structure is reinforcing this idea that it's interconnected.
Our lives are not our own. We are bound to others, past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future.
You're trusting the audience in a big way, or you believe in the audience to be able to follow. I mean, is that sort of your general philosophy about filmmaking, is that you trust the modern audience to be able to follow along with this?
What? That's a leading question, Your Honor. Look, I think people go to movies like you go to movies and we go to movies, that they want to not simply be passive consumers, and they are stimulated by a broader range of material than just entertainment.
I think we really share this belief that there is actually the amount of people out there waiting for this kind of stuff is huge, and they just get fed. They're so horribly underfed, you know. They're like, if you see the movement that has happened in the last decade towards television, and how many people are actually have decided to spend much more time watching movies on television because of the series culture that has evolved.
You know, I mean, people are watching Lost, and they're watching something as, you know, structurally complex as, say, The Wire or 6 Feet Under. These are sort of pulsive narratives that are quite complex and fragmented and tell stories through multi-branched structures. And when we started laying it out, that was a broad template that we're using to say, like, oh yeah, I think audiences are familiar with this kind of complex structure. Now, on the other side of that, we are also, yes, always searching to push it farther. It wasn't enough that we took this but now we had to make it different genres. That was exciting. No one's ever done that. And most importantly, no one has ever combined tone in the way that we did in this film. That was probably one of the most radical. And then, of course, that wasn't far enough for us either. So then we had to have all of the actors playing all of the parts, right. And then we're like, okay, this is getting there.
Well, tone, that's the minefield, is that tone, because audiences can be very, you can lose an audience very quickly by transitioning your tone improperly, and what was something that was momentous becomes silly all of a sudden as a result of not handling that tone right. I think you guys nailed it. Can you sort of talk about the philosophy of how to approach tone in something as complex as this?
The script was much more aggressive in terms of cutting from one story to the next.
Juxtaposing tone.
And you know, finding connections maybe in a line of dialogue that worked on the page but didn't necessarily work on screen. And there would be these moments where, you know, it would just be like acids and bases, and, you know, it would blow up in our face. The first screening, we were, not only was there was a tonal problem, but also rhythmically it came out too hard and too fast, and, you know, we were, you know, okay, that didn't work. Back to the drawing board.
But you had the advantage, of course, because of the idea of actors playing multiple characters, to then say, okay, but maybe we can cut from Cavendish to Ayres, to the character, to the composer in the 30s, because it is the same actor, even though it's tonally different, but because it's the same personality somehow behind there, you slip in more easily, even though you have to make quite a shift.
Almost sculpting it in this kind of way and constantly finding new, beautiful ways to dissolve the borders between not only these genres and time periods and characters, but in the audience's mind, that we started with these 6 disparate things, and you think, like, this is 6 totally separate things that don't have anything to do with each other. How are you gonna... And then slowly weave until the end. You are completely in one story.
It's a different use of editing. I mean, it's amazing to watch how that happens and how you do that. I have to wrap this up, but I have a question I really want to ask. I know.
Get out of there. We'll just stay here.
Is that I walked out of this movie and I said to myself, this is the ultimate atheist movie. Because what it says is that the things that you do, it may not be an eternal life or hereafter, but the things that I do today will echo forever in the way that I treat people. But on the other hand, people have also looked at it as these recurring characters. It's a reincarnation. It's a continuing soul-bound thing. I'm just curious if you guys could talk about sort of the philosophical concepts behind that. Am I totally wrong in seeing this as almost an atheist manifesto, that what we do now matters forever?
I think we do like that it has an openness to an audience. There's a way that you can bring yourself and your perception of world and your spiritual relationship to world, whatever it is.
The book stimulates you in ways that are both secular and spiritual. The book offers you this invitation to think about things like immortal love and a connectivity beyond materiality, which is very romantic. But there is also a part of the book that appeals very much to my more Epicurean, let's say, not atheist, I prefer Epicurean, understanding of the world, that every action, every choice, every consequence ripples out from you and has an impact on our future world.
Yeah, well, why can't it be both? I mean, in the same way that we say, why can't we have all these genres coexisting in one movie?
Why can't you have 3 directors?
Why can't you have 3 directors?
Why can't actors play multiple parts? You're not allowed to do these sorts of things. And Cloud Atlas continues to be a way that we keep trying to do things that people say, you're not allowed to do that.
I'm excited to see what you guys are not allowed to do next. So that's going to be pretty exciting.
I believe there is another world waiting for us, Sixsmith. A better world. And I'll be waiting for you there.
Keep watching
Badass Digest
on CineFix.
Be sure to check out JB Smooth's passionate review of the new movie Alex Cross, which he has not seen, and get an exclusive in-depth examination into Devin Faraci's major ass-whooping at this year's Fantastic Fest.